All right, today we're looking at solving equations with brackets. This is on page 21 of your topic 3 booklet. And we're going to go through the 6 example questions on that page. So example number 1 was 3x minus 3 equals 6. So our first step when solving equations with brackets is to always expand the brackets out. So when we expand, we get 3x minus 9, which equals 6. And the goal here is to get x all by itself on one side of the equal sign. So our next step would be to move that 9. So the opposite of subtracting 9 would be adding 9. So we add 9 to both sides. And when we do that, we get 3x equals 15. And x still isn't by itself, it's being multiplied by 3. So the opposite of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3. So x equals 5. Question number 2, we have 2 times x plus 5 equals 14. So again, the first thing that you're going to do is expand out those brackets. So you should get 2x plus 10 equals 14. And remember, our goal is to get x all by itself. So the first thing we're going to move is that plus 10. The opposite of adding 10 would be subtracting 10. So that gives us 2x equals 4. Now x still isn't alone. We have to divide both sides by 2 to get that x equals 2. Example number 3. Again, first thing that we have to do is expand those brackets. So when we do that, we get 3x minus 6 equals 2x plus 2. So we still want x all by itself on one side of the equal sign. So the first thing that we're going to have to do is collect all of our x's onto one side. So I'm going to move those 2 x's from the right-hand side to the left by subtracting 2x from both sides. And when you do that, you're left with x minus 6 equals 2. So I want x alone. So to get x all by itself, I have to get rid of that minus 6. The opposite of subtracting 6 is adding 6. And when I add 6 to both sides, I'm left with x equals 8. Question 4 is very similar to question 3. So you first expand those brackets, and you get 20 plus 8x equals 15 plus 3x. Now I need to get all of my x's together on one side of the equal sign. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. So that leaves me with 20 plus 5x equals 15. And now I need to start moving my numbers onto the right-hand side because I want x all alone. So the first thing I'm going to move is that 20. And remember, just because there isn't anything in front of the 20, it's a positive 20 or adding 20. So the opposite of that is subtracting. So we subtract 20 from both sides, and we're left with 5x equals negative 5. Remember, 5x means 5 times x, so the opposite of multiplying is dividing. And when we divide both sides by 5, we're left with x equals negative 1. Question number 5. So again, first thing that we always do is expand out those brackets. So when we expand, we're left with this line. Now the only thing that changes for question 5 is now we have to collect some like terms. If you look at the right-hand side, we have two numbers, 12 and plus 7. Those are our constants. So we're going to collect those together. So 12 plus 7 gave us 19 minus 3a's on the right-hand side. And now we solve this just like we did for questions 3 and 4. So we need all of our a's on one side. So I'm going to do that by adding 3a's to both sides of the equal sign. And when you do that, this is what you're left with. So I'm trying to get a alone, which means I need to get that 8 out of there, that positive 8. The opposite of adding 8 would be subtracting 8. And when we subtract 8 from both sides, we're left with a equals 11. Question 6 works the exact same way. So we're always expanding those brackets first. And this is what you should get. And now we're looking at both sides of the equal sign. We now have two constants on either side. So we have to collect like terms before we move forward. So we have that 11 plus 6, that gives us 17. And 6 take away 1 leaves us with 5. And now we can start moving our y's onto one side of the equal sign. So I'm going to add 3y to both sides. You should be left with that. And now I need to start moving my numbers onto the left-hand side. So the first one I move is that plus 5. The opposite of adding 5 would be subtracting 5. So when you subtract 5 from both sides of the equal sign, you're left with that. And now I have 12 times y, so I need to get rid of that 12. The opposite of multiplying by 12 would be dividing by 12. So I divide both sides of the equal sign by 12, and I find that y equals 1.